in the agriculture sector as a value chain person, agricultural value chain person. So this market systems approach that was applied in agricultural value chain is still the same approach that I'm applying here now, because the project I work on now is on construction and migration. It is still the same approach that is being applied here. So it's one unique thing, one sweet thing about the market system development approach is that irrespective of the value chain you work, irrespective of the sector you find yourself, it is one approach that can fit into every situation, into every development sector. So that's briefly what I can say about my journey into development and how development, how I'm perceiving my perception about development and how my journey has been so far. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tosin. That was very illuminating. Thank you. I appreciate that. Does anybody have any question for Tosin? If you have any question, please raise your arm or just unmute your mic and ask the question. Okay, so it appears that there's no question. So we'll press on very quickly because of time. So how does economic development work? So as I said to you earlier, I'm just going to breeze through this presentation because of time. So I'm trying to limit this to just 1 hour, but depend on the questions that people may have later. So how does economic development work? The first thing is to consider the stakeholders in economic development. So the stakeholders, you have donors. So these are people that are funding the economic development projects that we have across Africa or across developing nations. So we have foreign countries, typically from the Northern Hemisphere, in Europe and US. And what it does is the government sets aside a portion of the GDP to fund economic development, or perhaps just general international development in developing nations. It's a way of supporting the nation to become, to have a bit more growth to serve the people. You then have government of this developing nation. They have different policies, policy initiatives, and they create funds specifically for that. If you, in Nigeria, for instance, you have different agricultural policy that's created by the government, money set aside to help the government, to help poor people in agriculture. You then have private foundations. You know, you have Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Dangote Foundation, MTN Foundation. So there's a lot of foundations around that effectively provide funds for all of the pro-poor initiatives that they feel matches their own private companies' objective. So generally, these donors provide funding. These are the categories of funders. So you have donors. So you have the foreign government, you have the national governments, and you have private foundations. And then you have these people. Generally, sometimes they do project design. They actually design the project, or they give it to implementing companies to design. We'll talk about implementing companies in a moment. So you have the donors, and then you have the beneficiary countries. So, so a foreign country wants to help people in, let's say, Nigeria. What they do is they get involved with the, they reach an agreement with the beneficiary country in areas to work in and how they're going to work in those areas. So some government issue licensing, some government just do some agreement with them. So this project can exist within the country, and because of tax reasons, because of regulatory issues, and because of country relationships, all of this has to be done between the foreign country and the beneficiary country. You then have implementing companies. Now, please take note of this if you're interested in working or doing business with economic development project. Implementing companies are essentially consultancy companies from the donor countries. they typically are from the donor countries, but not necessarily so. So you have UK government wants to help create increased competitiveness or increased productivity in agriculture in Nigeria, for instance. So what will happen is that they'll put out a call for proposal, and consultancy firms will reply to those calls for proposal, and the donor country will select one of those companies and give them money to go and implement that project in Nigeria. So like Tosin was just talking about, GIZ is a German development donor. So what happens is that some money that's been allocated to GIZ in Germany will be put together and will be brought to Nigeria, typically by an implementing company, but GIZ tend to do their own thing directly. So these companies will bid and write proposals, and the proposal will be approved, and they will get the job of implementing the project that's been designed. Now, you then get projects. We're talking through the stakeholders now. So you then get projects. So the people like Tosin, like myself, like some of the professionals that are online presently, they will be recruited, and the project design essentially will be done by these people, and the implementation of the project will be done by these people. So this is the in-country entity that exists. So implementing companies sometimes have local presence, or sometimes they don't have local presence, but their project will have local presence. The project will be given licensing and permission to operate within the country by the beneficiary country. So that's the project. And then you have the beneficiaries. And some of these beneficiaries are targeted beneficiaries. So they either are in target sectors, like as we mentioned before, agriculture, education, health, as Tosin mentioned, construction, and different types of areas. So these are the stakeholders that we have in economic development. So we have the beneficiaries, the projects that relate directly with the beneficiaries, implementing companies that set up the project, the country in which the project exists, the government of that country, and the people that fund the project. So those are the stakeholders typically in an economic development in the sector itself. Relationships are typically contractual. So what happens really is that the donor creates a contract with the implementing companies to implement project in a beneficiary country. The implementing company creates contracts with the project staff, right, for the period of the project. Typically, most projects varies between 3 and 7 years. And what then happens is that sometimes this project period extended depending on the level of accomplishment or achievement that they have had in the time they've been operating. So those are the stakeholders, and that's the relationships that exist within economic development. So what I thought I'll do at this point, does anybody have any question on any of the stuff that we've talked about just before I press on? If you have any question, just unmute your mic and ask. I know I'm rushing through this, so please, if there's anything that you might want to ask, please let me know. Right, okay. So, Kemi, are you online? Kemi Asuni, are you online? No. Okay. so Kemi Asuni has a really interesting background in economic development. My hope is that she will join us fairly shortly and tell us about her experience and how she got into economic development, and hopefully share some insight with us that may be useful. I am hoping she will join fairly soon. But until she joins, what I thought what I'll do is I'll just give you a quick tour of DevTV and DevTV Academy. It's just to show you what we're doing. And oh, she says she's online. Kemi, are you here? Can you unmute your mic if you are on? Hello, Kemi. Please bear with me. Kemi, if you're online, please unmute your mic. Okay. I'm not quite sure what's happening with Kemi. She's not responding at the moment. So we'll press on. So a quick tour of the DevTV website. Quickly share the screen. Right. So this is DevTV. This is devtv.org. That's our website. And as I said earlier, our focus is entirely on creating competence in economic development. These are the courses we have. Now, this is a free course, career opportunities in economic development. So essentially, it's a more detailed course that's based on this presentation that we're doing right now. And then there's another course to explain exactly how you can become a competent economic development practitioner. This is introduction to market systems. This is the systems that Tosin was referring to. And the other thing that we've done is to how we design interventions within economic development. So these are the courses, and then we have M&E tools designed specifically for implementers. All of the three courses, the three paid courses, are essentially designed to increase your level of competence in economic development if you do decide to join economic development as an employee. Now, and the courses are basically on demand anytime you want. You can you pay for them and you download them, you stream them. You have text, you have audio, you have video to follow along with the training. We also have as I said to you earlier, DevTV generally started as a TV station, as an online TV station, where we have different monologues and interviews with practitioners. And the whole idea really is to get people to share their experiences with us, and so we can be inspired. So we're on Facebook. That's our Facebook page. We're on LinkedIn. That's our LinkedIn page. We're on YouTube. We're going live currently on YouTube. This discussion. We're on Instagram. This is our Instagram page. We're on TikTok. And as I said earlier, we're currently live on YouTube. So that's us. That's DevTV. Does anybody have any question at this point, or should I just press on? You have to bear with me. I can't monitor the chart because I'm running through this presentation, and I really genuinely want to keep it to 1 hour. So no questions. Okay. So sorry, 1 second. Right. So the next course of is now to describe opportunities. Now, as I was saying earlier, when I was describing how it works, the implementing companies employ staffs within the country that they've been contracted to create a project, and inside of that company, they have to employ people, and these are the types of people that they employ. And this is I think the most interesting bit of all of this, is that the type of staff that they employ, when we say technical staff, so these are the people that go out and design interventions to help poverty or poor people in a particular sector or a type of groups of people that the donor may have suggested or mandated the project to deliver on. So this technical staff, we call them technical because some of them have to have very specialist skills, and some of them really do not have to have specialist skills. The most important skills that they have to have as technical experts or as technical implementing staff is the ability to understand market systems. Like Tosin was describing to us earlier, what are the ways in which to improve poverty in whichever sector that the project has been mandated to do. That's essentially what we do there in as implementers. The other groups of people, and here really your background, sorry, in the implementing staff, the technical implementing staff, your background can be as varied as you may have studied science, you may have studied arts, communication. All of that becomes incredibly useful depending on where your the project is mandated to implement poverty reduction interventions. So you have projects in agriculture, you have projects in housing, you have projects in construction, you have projects in entertainment, you have projects in finance, you have projects in all aspect, all sector of the economy. But in developing nation, most of the projects are really in productive activities. So in agriculture, industry, enterprise, entrepreneurship, that's where most of this project focus on, because the idea is that if you can create income, you create investment, and as you're creating investment, you're creating opportunity for savings, and as people save, they get more income to invest, and the money that's invested is then used for further productive activities. So as an implementer, you genuinely do not have to. You don't have to be a particular specialist. Whatever specialist area that you're in, you have the opportunity to get employed as somebody that implements projects. Now, M&E, this is a monitoring and evaluation people. They essentially report on the progress. That's when they're monitoring the progress that implementer or implementing staff are making as they progress through the logic of their intervention. So let's take, for instance, that the project is in fishery, right? And you have decided, the implementers have decided that, okay, the best way to improve income or increase employment in fishery is to make sure that people that already have farm currently can expand their farm, can get finance to expand their farm. So if that's a logic that you've put in place, what the M&E staff would do is to design a way to monitor that what you have said will happen is happening as the time goes on in the project. And the whole idea of this is so that in case the idea is not working particularly right, you can quickly change course as an implementer. But the other really important function is that if you're making really good progress, they are recording, they're doing market assessment, impact assessment as you progress through your project, so they can demonstrate to the people that fund the project that the ambition of reaching X number of people or getting X number of people employed or income raised to a certain level, all of those people, this evidence is then presented to the people that funded the project, so they can see that progress is being made. The other technical group of people are the gender and inclusion specialists. These are people that they've been trained, they have technical concepts to drive the inclusion of women and persons with disability in economic growth, because these are people that are often left behind because of their peculiarity. So they are part of the technical team. So, and the whole idea is that if you're working in agriculture, for instance, it's important for you to isolate exactly what the impact will be on the impact of your intervention and the inclusion of women and persons with disability in your intervention, because the whole idea of the work we do is to make sure we all have, we're all growing together. By that, I mean women and persons with disabilities. So the second group of people in the project are support staff. So support staff are people that work in administration. So these are people essentially that go through all of the admin requirements of this particular project. And the finance people that do all the accounting as money is changed and so on. Security and logistics, because very often most of the places that these projects are set up are in remote areas and sometimes crisis areas. So the project staff and the office require some level of security. Drivers and vehicle management, these are things that the project as a whole will need, and there are opportunities for people to work in those areas as well. So, and that's what I was saying earlier in the discussion, that it genuinely does not matter what you studied and where you've studied it. There are considerable opportunities in all of these areas of economic development. What I can tell you from my own personal experience and from what I've seen is that remuneration is certainly above average. In all of the countries that I've worked in, the development sector pay amongst the higher wage in all of the countries I've ever worked in. And I worked across just under 17 countries in Africa, and all of them in those areas, they pay generally better than most of the other sector in the economy. So these are the project level opportunities, and these are the ones that I genuinely believe that you can take advantage of. Very soon we'll put a list of projects per country in on our site, so you can actually really begin to see in which sector this projects are in, and how you can tap into. I mean, we'll talk about that a bit further down, how you can tap into the opportunity that that exists within these projects in your country or your sector. Implementing companies. So as I mentioned to you earlier, some of these implementing companies have presence in country. And the presence in country requires that they have to employ people, not unlike the type of people we have in the project. But what they might not have is technical people. But some of them do have technical people that serves the rest of the. Sorry, was that a question? Did somebody want to ask a question? No. Okay. So typically, they employ support staff. They employ essentially business development staff, people that will go out and speak to donors and funders to get more support and more financing for whatever ideas that they may have. But essentially, they're really just managing the portfolio of projects they may have won from different donors in a particular country. So, and the same set of people that are employed here, I also employed at the project management level if the implementing company have a presence in the country. But some of the things that do happen is that even though they may not have presence in the country, they may expand employment opportunities to beyond their home country. So we've seen people that moved from Africa to the US and to the UK because of the level of work they've done at the project level or at the in-country implementing company presence. So that's the other opportunity. The other employment opportunities is this opportunity. So if you're a specialist, for instance, if you have a particular specialism in, say, agriculture, or maybe gender inclusion, or some sort of science, depending on what the project is, you have an opportunity for short-term assignments. So you might have a week, a month, 2 months, or sometimes it goes on for a certain number of days per month for a fairly long time. So you're an expert consultant that will come and help the project understand the intricacies of the specialty that you have and how that can help the project to do better. So that's a really nice experience for somebody that's maybe creating a business or that has a consultancy, doesn't want to work for anybody as a full-time staff. So this person can provide specialist services to the project and some really good above average wage. So these are at the expert level. You then have at the junior level, the field staff and consultants. So as I mentioned to you earlier, you have this technical people, monitoring and evaluation people. Very often when they go out to the field, in order for them to find out what the impact of interventions are, they have to employ field staff, because typically the project itself cannot take on that many staff. So occasionally, usually 4 or 5 times during the year, and it does depend on the type of intervention and the type of project. So they employ field staff to go and find out the impact that this project is having on the beneficiaries. So they tend to employ this field staff and junior consultants to do this work. In some cases as well, the technical team may want to do something that requires additional temporary staff. So they'll also make the case to employ field staff. So this is a nice, gentle way for somebody that's just graduated or somebody that's in university presently to really begin to get to understand the workings of economic development projects and begin to progress through the staffing level and then maybe edge out a career in economic development. Now, before I move on, do we have any questions on this at all? If you have any question, just please unmute your mic and talk to us.
Morning.
Hi, morning.
Yes, I'm very, very pleased with all of this presentation. I don't know if I can get these slides to maybe go through them myself as well to understand it very much. But
Yes.
I very much like it very much.
Thank you. Yes, please register on the website. So the presentation will be distributed to everybody that's been registered on the website.
The Dev website, DevTV website.
Yes, the devtv.org website. Yes, and it's going live on YouTube as we speak. So it can be you can go onto DevTV page on YouTube, and you will you see the presentation again. Is there somebody else that wants to have the question?
Hi, Alhabib, it's Kemi. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Kemi. Sorry.
I had internet issues. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Thank you very much for joining us. It's a fantastic time to join, actually. So what we've just done is gone through the job opportunities in economic development. So what I thought might be useful for people to hear is, first of all, introduce yourself and your position and how you got into economic development and the different parts of economic development that I think your experience and your background will really be useful for people to hear, and so they can see how it is possible to make progress in economic development.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for having me, Al-Habib. Sorry for joining in late.
Okay.
So I'll just go straight because I think we're running out of time. My name is Suny Oluwakemi. I'm a graduate of economics, finished from the Bayero University in Kano. Currently, actually got into development space as a youth corper, I think 13 years ago. I actually served with one of the DFID projects, now FCDO, in Abuja. And with the usual stuff of NYSC, you're given some responsibilities, which I actually started as an admin officer. Through trainings, you learn the ropes of the basic admin issues, how to just make sure you attend to people, how you're able to get organized, and starting a work life space, especially in the development world. So from there, I actually served there for a year, and actually there was no opportunity for me to start working elsewhere. After my NYSC, I was asked to okay, thank you very much, but let's see if there are other opportunities. Luckily, I had to work with one of the DFID projects for a while, for maybe 5 years, still doing the same admin position role. But I found a niche while working with one of the DFID projects in Kano as a gender specialist. I was able to move from being an admin manager, because apparently on that project, I was the only female for a while working on the project. And they had this opportunity to actually work with a lot of women in some certain value chains, especially the leather value chains, which I actually picked interest in. And I'm happy to also say that at least Al-Habib is also one of my mentors. So I actually worked with a lot of people on different projects, from the team leaders to the program managers and implementing managers. So over the years, I've been able to just look at, okay, there are other opportunities. There's the M&E components that one could work on, the also financial inclusion, access to finance and other bits. But I just felt, and the interest working with women, especially, a lot of things are actually happening that people don't really see in the development space. So it was just to see how I could just impact and what can I also do differently. That's how I found myself working as a gender specialist on one of the projects. And from there, had series of trainings in-house and had to also travel to get experience. I've done that for like 3 years as a gender specialist. Now, currently, I'm the Links Gender and Social Inclusion Advisor for a project in Kano, which we're actually looking at working with women. And the interesting bit also is working with people living with disability. So it's been interesting because you find out that, especially the area of disability inclusion, is a bit kind of new. We design interventions and we feel we have to now start thinking of how do we even make these interventions suit the needs of some of the people living with disabilities and also women. What are the barriers? So some of these barriers also needs to be checked while even designing our interventions. And how do we even go through this? Apart from you doing your literature reviews, it will also be good for you to just go in, have in-depth conversations with this group of people and design your interventions to kind of fit, and you see how you can scale some of these interventions forward. So for me, it's been something, an interesting space. I'm still learning. It's interesting. Anyone that really wants to go into this sector, you really need to have passion, because one thing is especially rich. It's not something you sit in the office and you just expect magic to happen. You really need to have a passion about what you're doing, the business, and also make sure that, this is really what you want to do. So for me, I've been able to move from being an operations person, which is actually very good because it also helps me even while designing and also relating with people I'm working with. So it's been an interesting journey for me, especially developing my experience more on gender and social inclusion. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Kemi. That was very nice. I think perhaps I'll just ask you just one question.
Yes, I also have a question for Kemi, please.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for this workshop. It's really interesting. So, Kemi, I want to find out from you, for someone who is interested in joining the field of gender inclusion, what advice will you give the person in terms of training? What kind of training will you advise the person to go for? Thank you. Oh, sorry, my name is Ibuka Helen.
Okay, your name is also Ibuka.
Helen Ibuka. Helen Ibuka.
Okay, Helen, thank you very much. For me, because one, I think it would be good for you to even start with the basic knowledge of what even gender is about first. So a lot of people just feel that gender is just talking about female, but we're looking at different roles, both male and female participate in. So it would be good for you to just even start with the basic knowledge of that. That's how I started, actually. Had nothing to even do with disability at first. This is even like a new area for me that I have to even start going for training. So it now depends on the different types of, it depends on your area of focus. Where people might even want to just focus more on like the health part of it, or you want to do more of the value chain. So it depends on the concept and what you want to do. But I would advise that you first of all start to get the basic first, know more about it. There are a lot of online courses that you can do. There's some organizations too that do like 2 weeks training. And if you want to take that further, you can also apply to do something more, maybe your master's level or in other short-term. Like for me, I started with a short-term kind of training, which I actually traveled for like 2-3 weeks to do. So you can just start with that first. Then depends on how you want to proceed and where you want to specialize more on. You can now diversify more and learn.
Kemi, is it possible to share the name and the place that you went to do your very first training?
So I'll put that in the chat now.
Yeah.
I'll send that in the chat. Yeah, I'll do that right away.
Right. Okay. Yeah. We'll get that information to you, Helen. So that, as Kemi mentioned, there's certainly plenty of courses around. But what was interesting with Kemi's journey was the fact that she started up as an operations staff. And because of the level of interest that she, and because of her level of involvement, she decided to do this incredibly, I wouldn't say difficult, but challenging role that she's now in with gender and inclusion. But the question I really want, Kemi, the question I really want you to try and help us through is the mindset that moved you from operations to technical areas. Most people, when they do finance or they do admin, is comfortable, is convenient for them. What happened exactly in your case that moved you from an operation person to do the technical? To go and do technical training. What happened and how did you make that journey?
Okay, so for me, the project I actually worked on then, that's the James 1 project, which was more focused more on meat and leather value chain. I wanted something more challenging. Fine, being an admin person was actually good, and I think I've done that for like 7 years, and I just wanted something more like engaging. I wanted to relate more with people apart from just being, for me, like a front desk or an operations person whereby you just sit in the office and you just receive phone calls, someone is traveling. I just wanted to be part of what was happening in the organization. And for one, being the only female then, it just gave me that space for me to like, okay, yes, I think I can do this. I can still also work with implementing managers to do what they're doing. And going, especially I love to travel, engaging with people in the rural communities. One good thing is, you don't work in the city. If you have to go to this space, you don't really sit in the city to just get all your numbers or impact people. So I love the fact that I had to do a lot of rural community work, engage with people. And I tried that for like a year. I combined it actually with my operations work, but I found out that, this was what I wanted to do. It's all about interest, so it depends on the space. Maybe if I didn't like it, I'll have just gone back to say, okay, you know what, I don't want to do this. I just want to focus on being an HR person or an operations person. But it was just that interest and the things that actually comes out from the field again, and how people's lives have been impacted. For me, it was more of self-reflection. And yes, you can just still do this as a passion. So it was more of passion and impact for me.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else have any question for Kemi before we move on? Please, if you have any question, just unmute your mic and speak. Okay, so we'll move on to opportunities for business owners. Now, this is actually really very interesting, because some of the things that that's happening in developing nations, and particularly Africa, is that a lot of young people and not so young people are focused on creating businesses for themselves. But there's a transition between an idea and when the business becomes a sustainable and income-generating venture. So the way the transition in itself requires a level of flexibility in terms of income earning, so they can continue to push further the business idea. And there's some established businesses looking for increased revenue and different types of market. So these three areas are areas that I think businesses can really benefit from establishing a relationship with a development project. So as Kemi was suggesting earlier, as a business, you can supply development project. And we should say this at this point. Development projects is often referred to as NGO projects. So it's a fantastic sector to work in, and it's a fantastic sector to serve as a business person. So they have essentially the same sort of needs as the as any business, you know, the stationaries, the office space, the vehicles, the maintenance, all of the other things that all businesses generally require, they have those needs as well. The only separation, perhaps, Kemi, I'm sorry that I keep calling you. You may eliminate. You may come and explain this to us a bit more. The only difference probably will be that there's a standard that's required by this project. I don't think that standard is very different, but the monitoring of the standard is important when you are a business serving a development project. I know of a caterer, for instance, that serves a development project when they have events, and very often these projects have meetings where they pull a workshop, for instance, where they pull people together to come and discuss all sorts of different things, where you might have donors presence and so on. So if you're a business and you have a venue, they will be a project will be a fantastic client for you to serve. If you work in a hotel, it's certainly a project is a really convenient. Really good, consistent client to serve. So there are different types of whatever it is that you do in terms of business. You can be a supplier to a development project. I'll try and keep this short. The next one is probably the most important and most beneficial in my view, for you as a business owner to become a partner of a development project. Now, what is a partner? A partner is essentially, as we were explaining before, and as Tosin mentioned in his presentation, the way we work is to build businesses up so they can employ unemployed people, or find a way to create opportunities for people to create their own enterprises. So if you're a project partner, because we don't want to work with the poor people directly in a market assistance project, we want to work through a business to get to those people. Let's imagine, for instance, that in say fishery or cake making, the main problem is that there isn't enough staff, or there's not enough people being trained to bake cakes or to work in bakeries. So if a development project is to get involved in that, to create an intervention around it, rather than actually go and recruit unemployed people and train them, which will be effectively giving fish to people that want fish, it would be that they'll find a training company or find a bakery that's already doing some level of training, then get involved with that business and co-invest. By co-invest, I mean jointly design a training curriculum. They'll probably bring a technical trainer in, and they will train these people that work in this particular sector. But this all will be led by a training company or a bakery that's already doing some training. And this is beneficial for the business owner, because you will not have to pay all of the fees, all of the cost of creating this training. You get technical support from this project. They'll bring experts, world-renowned experts to attend to your business, to help you organize your business, organize your training in ways that will benefit you as a company and ultimately the beneficiaries, because you are the vehicle in which the project will get to the beneficiaries. So this is an area that if you're a business owner, you really ought to explore and really think about very carefully, because they provide you with incredible revenue increasing opportunities. Now, this is a lot more difficult to explain in this sort of forum without giving examples. But unfortunately, we're running substantially out of time. So please, I have calendar appointment on the website, on devtv.org website. If you are interested in opportunities as a business person that wants to partner a development project, please book a consultation with me, and whatever sector you're in, we can talk specifically about how you can take advantage of these opportunities. As a scale agent generally just means that you are either an association, you're either a company that can reach as many people as possible, because all of the projects that we're talking about, they're designed to make sure that whatever the intervention is sustainable and it is scalable. So they have to find a channel in which they scale this intervention. So they may have started an intervention in, say, Lagos or Kano, for instance, and they want this same intervention has worked really well in Kano. They now want to have the same intervention in other parts of Nigeria. So what will happen is that they will look for a similar business to the one that they worked with in Kano, in all this other location, to see if they can get involved and make the intervention happen and allow the intervention to reach as many people as possible. So what is important as a business owner is that you really ought to make yourself visible to these projects. Your marketing really ought to be targeting development project, because there's substantial benefit for you as a business person, either cost reduction benefit or revenue generating benefit, because they can either introduce you to different potential clients and customers, or what they will do is actually help you in promoting your business if they believe your business there's a match between your business and their own objective. So this is really all there is that I can talk to you about in terms of the opportunity for business owners. The specifics would take too long to go through in this presentation. And as I said earlier, if this is your area and you're interested in really knowing a bit more about this opportunity for business owners, we can do a consultation. If you go to www.devtv.org, book a free appointment to speak with me, and we'll go through the opportunity that may exist in whichever country you're in. So do we have any questions as far as this is concerned before I press on? Okay, so how do you thrive in economic development? Helen asked the question earlier of Kemi, and I think it's an important question. Please, if you're putting questions on the comment or on the chat, I certainly will respond to those after the session. It will not be during the session, but if it's something urgent that you rather answered in this session, please unmute and ask the question directly. Now, the next session was actually to bring somebody in, to Kevin Conroy, to discuss with us. He was a team leader on several projects, and he would have given us the perspective of people being employed. Oh, okay, he's just sent me a message. I don't know if anybody will still be on here, but I'll send him the link and see whether or not he can join us. So yeah, so Kevin hopefully will give us, from a business perspective, because he started off as a development professional. What he has done is become has become a businessman himself, and he's as a business is working with development projects. So this he would have been perfect to explain to us how you can transit from being a professional, economic development professional, to basically a business that's now taking advantage of the opportunities in economic development. But I've sent him the link. Hopefully he will join us in the course of this last section. So the last section really is how to thrive in economic development. As Kemi alluded to before, and as Tosin mentioned, really it's about competence and passion. Passion is what Kemi talked about, and Tosin, I think, spoke about technical excellence. And competence is a thing that we shouldn't take for granted, especially in economic development, because in economic development, we're helping people out of poverty. And if we're going to help people out of poverty, everything we do matters. How we do it matters. The level of detail, the level of competence we have can make the difference between life and death of our beneficiaries. There are people that literally will invest because you have come to them, you've given them ideas, they will literally invest their life savings or the little that they have into your idea. And if you have not thought through the ideas that you have, that can get them into really bad situation. You leave them worse than you met them. So the idea here really is that if you want to work in economic development and you want to thrive in economic development, you really need to consider competence. Like Helen asked earlier, what courses can she do? Where can she go to get these courses? This hopefully we'll put some of this up on the website or on any of our social media sites. This is absolutely really important for people to realize. It's not just paper qualification. When you go to these courses, please pay attention, please listen and learn. So when you do get into economic development, you are able to have impact on your beneficiaries, because the ultimate aim is to get people out of poverty. So you need to consider technical skills, like Helen and Kemi were talking about, like Tosin mentioned at the beginning of this session. There's technical skills. So you know the principles and the concepts of implementing or designing and implementing interventions in economic development. That's important. But there's supplementary skills. So you have to, one of the ones that really is important is that you have to understand why the donors have set aside money to do this project. You have to understand that. And that has to be in the back of your mind as you design the technical skills, as you design your intervention, as you apply your technical skills to the problem that they may have given you to resolve. You really genuinely have to think about their own, from the donor's perspective. And then there's the implementing company's perspective. The implementing company's perspective is that they are business people, so they want to make money. So it means that you have to not only be absolutely efficient in the work that you're doing, you have to do it in ways that will make them money. And the way you conduct yourself, meaning that if you are in economic development and you're working for a project, you cannot just behave in ways that may question your integrity, because if your integrity is questioned, your project's integrity will be in question as well. And we have seen projects that have been closed down because of some of the bad behavior of an individual staff in the particular project. So it's absolutely very important that you understand the technical skills and you understand that there are supplementary skills that you really should be aware of. and that you should form the way in which you get into economic development. Now, on devtv.org, there's a free course that talks about competence, how to get a technical competence, where to get technical competence in market systems, and the sort of supplementary skills that you need. It's free. You can you stream it to download the text, and hopefully it will be useful for you to it'll be useful for you as you're considering a career in economic development. Kevin, are you on here? Kevin? Kevin? No. Okay. So Kevin has not joined us yet, and but we just press on. Now, this is to answer some of the questions you may have at the moment, which is the sources of this training. In our own particular case, we are focused on market systems training as one of the approaches that we described earlier. This is the approach that teaches people how to fish as opposed to give them fish. DevTV.org have introduction to this approach, and we have different tools that we feel that can be used to make sure you have the competence and you have the knowledge to do this work as it ought to be done. And then there's a Springfield Center course. It's an amazingly expensive course. You have to travel to Thailand to do this course. I think maybe because of the COVID, maybe they're considering an online version of it, I don't know. But they essentially designed an approach called Making Market Work for the Poor, which is basically a market systems approach. And go through that training is an important training if you want to be in economic development or market systems development. Anne-Marie Brown is an M&E expert. She has a training and online training courses, but hers is slightly different. I think you can stream it, but more likely that you may have to attend courses online, live courses online, but she's very active on LinkedIn. Anne-Marie Brown. AnneMarieBrown.com is where you'll find her. Springfield, you find Springfield at SpringfieldCenter.com. And obviously, you'll find DevTV Academy on DevTV.org Academy. So these are this is the things that you need to do. You need to genuinely consider the supplementary skills, and this centers around integrity, professional conduct, how you conduct yourself within and outside of the project. And if you are in a project, you are effectively an ambassador of the project. So the way you conduct yourself can and has been known to impact the project as a whole. So this is what I have for you as sort of like a rush through a presentation on opportunities that I think can be explored in economic development. I'll leave the floor open for comment, suggestions on what you thought of the workshop, and potentially which areas you like to have a lot more information and insight on, so I can pull something together for next time. So floor is open for anybody to ask questions. Okay, so nobody's brave enough to ask any questions?
So, hello again. This is Helen.
Hi,
So unfortunately, I joined a bit late, but overall, I think this is very, very insightful and very, very relevant. Thank you so much for putting this together. I would like to know when next you're having a section like this. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, I only joined before I realized how important this workshop is, and then that was actually at the point where I had to share it with a friend who immediately joined. So please, when next are you having another one like this, so that we can better prepare and be there on time? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those kind words, Helen. It depends on the demand, really. I put this up as an initial test of where people's interests are. If this is something that people want to explore further, I can certainly do another presentation, maybe between Christmas and New Year, or maybe very early in the new year. I'll see the level of interest that I get. But the important thing is if people register on the website and send comments on that, or follow our social media pages and just write requesting for this workshop, then we certainly will put it up again. Thank you very much, Helen. And anybody else? Any?
I have one.
Yeah, hi.
Azubike here.
Hello, hi.
How you doing? So for the opportunities for the business owners, I know you said you would further talk about that in like a breakout session, but just while we're here, I think I heard you say that people have to somewhat align themselves to be open for these opportunities. Maybe if you can give like an example, just like a small, you don't have to give a long one. I know you said you want to do that in a breakout session, but just like if you can give us a hint about what that means. Is it like is it the wording within our mission statement? Is it like is it like us promoting that maybe we have a 60%, we hire 60% women and 40% men? Like, could you give us an example?
Okay, thank you very much. That's a fantastic question. So, what I'll do is I'll give you a quick business case.
Okay.
So there's a company that produces water, pure water. It's water in sachet, and they sell the water in bags of, I think, 100 or thereabout. No, I don't know how many numbers in a big bag that they sell. So in the areas that they sell this water to, most people really cannot afford to buy water for 100 naira. So a project exists that really is to increase the nutrition and the health of people in this area. And this company was approached by the project to say, okay, you know what, we can work on water, because water is particularly important. The sort of water that people drink in that area is just not clean enough. So if you're producing water and the people in your area cannot afford to buy the water in the way you're producing them, then the project and the company got together to redesign the packaging of the water to make it affordable for the people in the area. But more importantly, is that they set up a sort of like a training where people in the area were trained on the specifics of how to produce water, how to work, what to do to work in a water producing company. And these people trained then got employed by that company and other water producing companies in other areas. So what begins to happen in the local area is that a lot more people in that area got employment. And because they got employment, the original water business was able to sell a whole lot more water to these people. So that's an example of how a business can begin to benefit. The water company didn't have to spend that much money because the expertise was brought in by the project. Some of the cost that was required to change some of the producing element was brought in by the project. So if, as a company, what you have to think about is, or as a business owner, what you have to think about is the objectives of projects. The primary objective of projects is to increase income, reduce unemployment, get women included in economic activity, get persons with disability included in economic activity. So the first question you must ask yourself as a business owner is, what part of my business aligns with these key objectives? So if you're a business owner that you feel that you can employ a whole lot more women, right? But there's a reason you are not employing women. There are projects out there that will get involved with you to look at your business, design your business or your business model or what technical aspect of your business, so you can be appealing to women, and you will find women that are competent to work in your business. And the process of doing that can actually be costly. And this is where the project comes in. The project will either share the cost or even foot the entire bill. And that's the benefit of a business working with a project. The other quick example that I give is that if as a business owner, for instance, if your business is primarily it's not let's say if you're producing for well-oiled individuals, all right, say assuming you're producing some sort of consumables, and those things can only be bought by very rich people or perhaps middle class people. You're not serving the poor. So what a project can do is to get involved with you and find a way to produce whatever it is that you produce, but to serve the mass market, to serve the poor people, especially if it's something that's needed by poor people. So they will get involved with you. All of the changes that needs to happen within your company will either be shared, cost shared with you, or in some cases, the project will pay for the entire change. And the reason they do that is because they want to have a blueprint with your company that can be shared with companies like you. So if you're a water company, they'll test all of this thing with your company at very little cost to you. And if it works out very well, and they'll keep going through iteration until it works. So when it works out, what they will have is a blueprint of how a water business can make an impact. And they will go to other water companies, right, to try and replicate what they've done with you so they can reach more people. Those are the scale agents I was mentioning in the presentation earlier. So those are the quick examples I can pull out there. But the key to this is to look for the objectives. No, first of all, find who are you serving? What is the product that you're serving? How can that product serve the beneficiaries of projects? The project's objectives are very, very clear and simple. Inclusiveness, increase in employment, increase in income. Those are the areas they're focusing on. You think about your business on how can my business match that objective? If you find a straight line between those two things, there are projects that you can write to, and they'll consider you for grants, they'll consider you for involvement. I'm sure Tosin can tell us a whole lot more in that area. Tosin, are you there? Okay, maybe he'll drop off. So these are the examples that I can give at the moment. But if there's any other thing that you specifically want to know, we can either do consultation or you can ask a question here now.
Okay, and then another question I'm having is, you were talking about like integrity, and if any of these companies sense that the business owner or the person trying to apply for the position might not have the integrity, they might like let them go and close the project. So that leads me to think that these projects, once they do partner with the business, they kind of get an open book to the person's business, like dealings and proceedings, from like how much their revenues and profits are. Is that correct? To an extent it is. So what generally would happen is that if a project is getting involved with you, they would have done due diligence. So they'll look at your company, what your company have done in the past, who the officers of the companies are, and if there's any funny business, if there's any conviction of any sort. So they will have done a sort of like a primary due diligence. Now, when it comes to the specific of the work with the company, it depends on the type of intervention. So let's say, for instance, the intervention they want to get involved in is your production system. So your production system might be old, archaic, or
they may feel that there's a better production system. So what will happen is they will first, you have to give them a level of access for them to see your production need, the cost of the production, so they can build a case, not only for you, but to their funders, that this is something that needs to be done and that should be done because the objectives are aligned. So yes, you have to give them a level of access to your financials, but they really do not care that much about your profit. As long as, like I said to you earlier, their primary objective is inclusiveness, to increase employment. If you're seen as a company that's exploiting the poor, then it's be very difficult to get involved with a development project. But what if your company is employing people, if your company is providing services and goods to poor people at a reasonable price, I shouldn't say reasonable price, at the cost that the people can afford, then it will not be that much of an issue in terms of the margin that you're making. But what they want to see is that you believe in the intervention. Even if you make some abnormal margin, that you're reinvesting it in a way that will expand the scale of your impact on poor people or women or youth. That's essentially where the assets will be focused.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Anybody else? Okay. Thank you all very, very much for attending this this workshop. And as I said earlier, if there's interest in doing if there's interest for people as far as this is concerned, apologies for that. Yeah, so if there's interest, we will definitely we'll do more of this, and please go to our social media website and leave comment and subscribe and follow us, so we can keep doing stuff like this. So just as a last request from me, if there's no other questions, is for people to just switch on the camera for a few seconds so I can take a screenshot of your smiley faces. Is that all right? If your camera is shy, you don't want people to know that you're on this webinar, then you don't have to. But it'd be really useful if you can just switch on your camera. So we see your faces, and I'll take a screenshot of us all. So I'll just very nice, thank you. Very nice, thank you, thank you, thank you. More, please, more. Okay, anybody else? Just for a brief moment so I can take a screenshot. Okay, all right. Well, thank you all very much. I really appreciate the attendance, and we should be announcing through our website and through our social media sites when the next workshop will be. Thank you very much for attending. Bye-bye all, and have a good Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you, you too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.